So here we are at the Supercoach website. Okay, we're going to talk about some basic gameplay, how to navigate the page, what this all means, so you get acquainted with it. Now this is the 2022 team picker. It's not live yet as of recording this. I'm recording this in mid-January. It should be open in a couple of weeks, fingers crossed. So it gives you an example of what you'll do once this does open before we get to the first round of the home and away season. Alright, here it is in a nutshell. You have $10 million to choose 30 players. Okay, now you can choose 30 players from any AFL team. Doesn't matter where they're from, you can choose. You have 8 defenders you can choose from, or the game wants you to choose 8 defenders, 6 of which will be on the field, 11 midfielders, 8 of which will be on the field, 2 ruckmen, and 6 forwards to make your 22. Okay, your best 22. So that's what we're going to be doing. And if we come over to the right hand side here, you will see the categories or the positions: defender, midfielder, ruckman and forward. If we click into midfielder, we have a brand new list of players that show up. Much the same if we choose ruck and forward. Okay, so we can scroll down here, we can see all the players that we can choose from. Okay, so let's have a quick talk about scoring. Every AFL game for the home and away season, there are employees of Champion Data, who are a statistics company, who go to each game and watch each game with a fine-tooth comb. And they will watch every single set play, and they will then calculate, so record and calculate every possession, every single micro event that happens in that game. And then they will then assign a point or several points or a score to that. And then as the game is going on, players are scoring Supercoach points or they're losing Supercoach points. Essentially, if they have a really good game, they're going to score very highly. That's if they kick 5 goals or kick a couple of goals, have 30 touches, do some really good things, then they're going to score very highly. On the flip side of that, of course, if they're goalless, if they only had 2 touches and didn't really impact the game at all, they're not going to score as high. Okay, so I thought I would just show you, as an example, how we pick a team. Now, this isn't going to be my final team, but I will show you exactly how you do it. Okay, it couldn't be any simpler. Let's start with the defenders. Okay, let's go over here. Let's say, I like the look of Jake Lloyd. Hit the little plus sign. In he goes. Now you notice now that the 10 million salary cap has dropped by $586,600. So now we have $9.4 million remaining, and we've got to choose 29 more players. So let's just go down and we'll pick some players. All right, and we're going to fill the rest of the team out as well. Now we're going to go into more detail as we go along about which players we should be looking at, which players we shouldn't be looking at, ones to potentially consider. All right, let's have a look at the game here. On the left-hand side, we have all the players that will be on the field. Now, these players that you choose on the field will contribute to your weekly score, and as the season progresses, your total score. These on the bench won't necessarily count unless one of the players on the field is injured. Then you can set an emergency on each line, defender, midfielder, ruck and forward, to cover the player that's not playing. So let's break this down in a nutshell. $10 million for 30 players. Okay, here's how it will look once you have a full team. So this is my 2021 team, and what I thought I would do is show you this, as it shows you once a full team has been picked, how it all looks, all the different colours, all the different icons and things. Okay, it gets a bit sort of crazy town to look at it. I'm going to quickly zoom in so you can see the back 6, or the defenders that I've chosen. So this, keep in mind, this is the end of the year. Okay, this is after the end of round 23. I finished with Rory Laird, Tom Stewart from Geelong, Jake Lloyd from Sydney, Caleb Daniel, Jordan Ridley and Stephen May. Now I'm going to zoom out and show you who else I had. Okay, so this is my whole team view here. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of players there, a lot of colours, a lot of numbers, and it gets a little bit sort of, whoa, what's going on here? Let me break this down a little bit. I'm going to zoom now into the back 6. Okay, so I had Rory Laird, who was $611,000. That's the value that he finished at the end of the year. He scored 149 points in round 23. All right, so let's go to Jake Lloyd. Again, another defender. You'll notice here that most of the defenders have DEF on them. That's because they're only eligible to play in this position of the field. There are some exceptions, which we're going to talk about. But as a general rule, in the defenders here, you'll only see def, potentially a couple that have mid, or there's a rare occasion that there's an FWD for forward as well. So Jake Lloyd finished the season at $544,200, scored 154. and finished with a season average of 107.8. Now we're going to get into these numbers a bit more as we go. This is just a general overview of what this all means, okay? And obviously with the colours here is the icon for the team that they play for. Let's talk about the emergencies first. So you'll see Trent Bianco, Edwards and Jack Zeeble there, okay? All have a little purple tinge on them. What that means is they're the emergencies, okay? So you can select one player from each line to be an emergency. Now the role of the emergency player is to cover for any player that's on the field that doesn't play. Okay, so Tom Stewart, DNP, did not play. He didn't play round 23. So Trent Bianco, because he had the purple, I put the emergency on him. I'll put the E on him, as it's known. His 28 contributed to my score for the week. Okay, so instead of getting a 0 or a donut for Tom Stewart there, I got 28. Okay, so that's a very handy thing to do, is to put your emergencies on. Okay, and it's really straightforward. We can't do it at the moment, but all you need to do is hover over that player and click the little E, and they'll turn purple there, so then they're locked in for the emergency. The next thing here, if we can see Jack Steele and Jack McRae, okay, one's orange and one's blue. In Supercoach, we're allowed two options. We can choose a captain and we can choose a vice captain. Now, the captain's score is doubled. So if they score 129, you get double that. There is, we'll talk about this a little bit more in detail in a future video, but there is a way that you can have essentially two chances of getting a really high captain score. You can put the vice captain on a player that's playing early in the week, let's say Thursday night, Friday night, and if they have a really, really good score, then you can lock them in as your captain. Let's say Jack McRae on Friday night, and in this example, he scores 113, which is not horrible, but it's not really a captain score. Okay, you want to be looking at 120 plus to take that as a captain score. So I said to myself, no, I don't think I'm going to take that. So I put the captain on someone else. Okay, so I've got two chances. If, however, Jack McRae scored 135, I could go, I'm going to take that as a captain score. Then you can use this loophole to get 113 or 135, whatever it was that he scored, double. Okay, so we'll come to that in more detail, but it's just to make you aware of what all the different colours are, and it seems to be a little bit sensory overload for the first time that you play this. Okay, so lastly, what I want to do is just explain a few rules about how the game works. Once we have our team fully chosen, before the start of each home and away round, you have to lock in your trades if you're going to make any. Now we get 2 trades per round, so we get 30 per year in total. We get a few extra during the bye rounds when there's less teams playing, and that's to cover the players that are missing from our team. And we can bring players in and we can work some magic to try and get a high score as possible during the bye rounds and really make some leaps on the competition. We'll talk about that a little bit more detail as we go. But at the start of just before the start of each home and away round, so let's say it starts on a Friday night, which most of them do. Occasionally there's Thursday night games, but the majority would be Friday night. You need to lock in your trades for the week, and then once Friday night hits, the teams that are playing on Friday night are locked out, so you can't change them. They're locked in any of the positions that they're in. You can still make your 2 trades up until the deadline of each game. Okay, it's called a rolling lockout. Okay, so let's break this down. You choose 30 players, 22 of which will be on the field, and their scores in the real games of AFL football contribute to your weekly score, and which contributes to your season score. Players on the left-hand side contribute to your score. Players on the right are your bench, which are your cover, and you can make them emergencies. If a player is laid out with injury, or they're out for a week and you don't want to trade them, you can use an emergency to cover that 0 that you would get otherwise. Okay, so I'd like to talk about prices now and just give you a general idea as to why some players are more expensive than others. Okay, it shouldn't be any surprise that the more expensive players are the ones that score higher and have a higher average, okay, which means over the course of a season or the course of 3 rounds or 5 rounds, they score very well. Puts their price up. Everyone wants to put them in their team. Okay, they become very popular. So we have Rory Laird, $611,000, okay, and now we have Fife from the Gold Coast, who's $102,400. The premium players that you want to have in your team all year, or the ones that are going to score really highly and really well for you, are going to be more expensive, okay? Flip side of the coin, you have the rookies, who don't cost as much, but at the same time their output is not as good or is not as strong as your premium players. So I hope that helps, guys, with a general overview of how this works. Stay tuned for the next video. We're going to talk through leagues and overall. Okay, there's two ways of playing Supercoach. You can either play for leagues or you can play for the overall prize of $50,000. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in part 2.